What's up, Narco Gang? Welcome back to the channel. If y'all not subscribed, you already know what to do. We are only 12 subscribers away from 500. Let me clean my camera off. We're only 12 subs away from 500. So if y'all can really show me some love, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I'll be really generous. Well, I really much appreciate it. Very much appreciate it. But if y'all have been following for the past day, I have been covering the day 10 and 11 and possibly on until the verdict. YNWMelly's case. I'm not gonna be talking about the whole thing. I don't know every intricate detail, but I have been familiar with the law. I've done time with myself, so I understand how the law works. I understand exactly what they're saying in here. So if y'all don't, then this is a breakdown of why I think Melly will not beat this case. And pretty much this is a video explaining why Melly will not beat this case we're finna listen to right now. So y'all stay tuned.
Day 10 of the YNWMelly trial was very compelling. Sergeant Christopher Williams testified about his bullet trajectory reconstruction and gave his opinion on whether or not a drive-by occurred. And then later on in this video, Melly's team struggles a little bit in cross-examination of the sergeant. Yeah, we get to see the reconstruction that the sergeant did, so it gets pretty interesting towards the end of this video. If you're new to my channel, subscribe. Let's get right into it. First look at Melly today. Got a light blue turtleneck on with like a dark blue jacket. I think this is a new combo today.
Now Sergeant Christopher Williams, I work for the Broward County Sheriff's Office. To determine what you're looking at when you see a deceased body, I always like to say that the body's the biggest rat on the planet. It will, if you know what you're looking for, you'll be able to determine what happened. Several types of stains that are associated with blood stain, and those all need to be interpreted to determine exactly what happened, and in some cases it can tell you where the assailant was.
Bro's real life Dexter.
Close vicinity with a firearm and you shoot somebody, depending on where you shoot them at on their body, the blood will come back in that same direction. So a dead body, it does not have any circulation. So there's no blood flowing through the body. Post-mortem perforation is all the way through. Penetration, it goes in and stays. Terminal ballistics is the projectile has stopped, and where it stopped is considered terminal.
Assist in this case.
I believe it was November of 2020. I was asked to determine if this shooting incident was a drive-by shooting.
God, this is a really big testimony for the prosecutor. Like, this guy has to convince the jury that he truly believes that Melly was in the back left seat.
The Miramar Police Department used string to the beginning of the projectile hole on the back of the seat of this vehicle. And then they took that string and they brought it back to it. No, the strings actually were sagging, which can cause inaccurate reading.
So if you don't know, the first guy that testified,
Lamita Feed is 101 years old. When COVID hit, we had some challenges. I heard about the payroll tax refund.
like last week, the older guy with the weird accent, I believe, he did trajectory first and he worked for Miramar Police Department and he did it wrong apparently. And then this guy came in and fixed everything and redid it. He just said the lines were sagging. Here's a picture of it. That was the mistake first off.
Is this the Smurf suit you were talking about?
Yes, and these are trajectory rods that have been inserted into the vehicle to terminal points. The purpose of putting them in is, number one, to create a trajectory, is for demonstrative purposes to show where the projectiles how the projectiles entered into the vehicle.
So, Sergeant, are you telling me that you use a Pythagorean theorem in your day-to-day work?
Yes, trajectory rod, and you would follow, you don't just shove it in, you actually gently follow the flight path of the projectile until it reaches terminal. So I would measure from the ground to the actual strike mark, the ground to the tip of the rod, and then the length of the rod that is sticking out from the projectile hole. That all gets put into fancy math, and it produces an angle.
Bro is using math to solve murders. Kind of wild.
A projectile that was recovered from the seat. So the seat was actually lifted up and that projectile was recovered.
Did you have to remove the seat to get to that projectile?
I did. Driver's side rear door that is ajar with a photograph showing the door ajar and the compartment area of that.
There's some gray substance here. Can you describe to ladies and gentlemen of the jury what happens to blood after it sits for 5 years?
Blood begins to break down after time, and actually it has bacteria, or if you will, as organisms that begin to break it down. DNA is in there, obviously, so it actually begins to eat itself, if you will, and that's essentially what is left behind.
And what was the inside width at shoulder height of the vehicle?
51 inches. Where a shooter could be and a distance of the end of the barrel of the firearm. So because it's a compartmentalized area, unlike being out in the open field where we have so many variables, that cutout, prior to that cutout in the headliner, there was a footwear impression on the headliner that was examined.
Who was putting their foot up on the ceiling?
What appeared to be blowback on the headliner of the vehicle. It is above your head as you're seating in the car.
Look at all the blood and DNA that was on the driver's seat.
Would this photo help in assisting you in the location?
And I object to the leading nature of.
Would this assist you? Over.
Yes.
I think he objected, saying she was leading. Apparently, Sack Chaser was like sleeping too in the front seat, like this, kinda, when he got shot in the back of the head or back of the neck, head area, and it went through his head.
Blood, and it also shows the directionality of the blood. Bigger than I drew, but it's in this general area right here.
Okay. In terms of the information,
They found blood blowback right up there.
Well, it's unusual to have the blowback on the headliner, so of course, and for this shooting incident, we would want to identify where that blood came from.
and whose blood was that?
That was the front seat passenger's blood.
The in terms of the location and the pattern, what does that tell you about the orientation of
The front seat passenger's head was actually down, almost as if he was sleeping, so it was down, leaning on the right. It would have exited through the front passenger window.
How can you say that?
Number one, there's no glass there. However, most importantly, is the projectile entered in the back of his skull and exited through the front of his skull with his head at a resting angle. You have the projectile coming in, exiting through the top of the skull. The head is something that bleeds profusely when it's pierced. The blowback ended up coming in the direction of, as I was speaking earlier about the hose, in the direction that it came from. It hit this headliner and continued and falling into the back seat. So the purpose of this photograph is strictly demonstrative to show where once the projectile enters into the head, you're going to have the blowback, which again will come up, strike the headliner, and then continue. It's actually continuing this way.
Portland had Sack Chaser and Juvie's blood on him on his shirt, but he had a hoodie over it when he arrived at the hospital with the bodies, so that's what they're talking about now.
I would expect to find some blowback here if, on a driver, if a driver was there.
So would you expect to find the DNA of Anthony Williams on the front of the driver's shirt?
Yes, Thomas assumed most of his injuries from the rear of the vehicle on his quadricep, right quadricep, and I believe 2 projectiles entered him on his foot.
He's explaining when Melly staged the drive-by, he shot into the car and hit the deceased bodies at that time.
Mr. Thomas is seated in this position. That projectile perforated that headrest and continued to go forward in the vehicle and ended up striking Mr. Williams and I believe his back.
This does seem like a really good testimony. It just feels like he's missing a lot of variables, and it does seem like he's estimating a little bit, which could be bad, but it all depends on how the jury sees it and how the cross-examination goes.
Can you say it was a certain distance away with specificity?
I can give a range for these shots and for the shots on the side of the vehicle. No, I can give a specific range. It comes into play because specifically Christopher Thomas, because Christopher Thomas was already deceased when these rounds were coming into the back of the vehicle, because Christopher Thomas was what we would call crumbling. He was starting to fall, if you will. On top of that, I know that he was already deceased because the back of his back, essentially, the rounds that are in his back.
Wait a minute, so these niggas actually shot into the car after they killed these niggas? Oh yeah, they going to jail. I ain't know that. So that's why they keep saying staged a drive-by shooting. Because them niggas shot into the car to make it seem like niggas was shooting in their car when they already shot inside, when they already killed the 2 niggas in the car.
Have no blood in them. My determination was that this is not a drive-by shooting, and it's based upon picture here, which is a very good picture to describe it. All of these rounds are done, all but one is done at a stationary position. The shooter's at a stationary position when all but one of these rounds are going in.
The fact that he's able to tell that the shooter was moving or not based on bullet holes is unreal. I pointed out in one of my last videos, it's almost like a circle of bullets here. Besides this one out here, it's like one big circle of bullet. A few people said it could be recoil of the gun, and I was like, recoil of a gun to go in a big circle like this? I feel like you gotta have some crazy recoil.
So a keyhole is projectile comes out of the barrel, and it is actually spinning in a line. However, once you add movement at the same time the projectile is coming out, you introduce that movement to the projectile. Once the projectile has altered movement, it will start to tumble as it's entering into its target. And that head over feet gives you this right here, which is essentially the projectile coming in sideways. So if it's a drive-by shooting,
Hi, it's me, Jennifer Lopez, Chief Celebration Officer.
all of these rounds should look like this.
Why?
Because movement is being introduced to that projectile.
Ooh, that's a good sentence right there. If it's a drive-by shooting, every single bullet hole should look like a keyhole like that, but all of them don't. I feel like it's rare for a drive-by shooting, especially where they were at, for cars just to pull up and stop and shoot. Like, I feel like that's probably rare, right? All my hood dudes in the comments, let me know if that's rare. The cars stop and drive-bys, I feel like they keep rolling a little bit, 10 miles per hour, and spray them down.
The vehicle is stationary. So if you have two vehicles going in the same direction, I would expect them to have the keyholes, but I would also, if you're being shot at, it's natural to step on the gas and go, which would put you either,
What's the objection? That's
Speculation.
which would put you either above or forward or behind your shooter. For this one here on 60 degrees,
Wow, this is actually a really good depiction. Coming from 90 degrees is a perfect bullet hole like that, and then it just slowly gets weirder and weirder, like more oval when the degrees changes. This is some nerdy Dexter shit, dude.
for the 20 degrees, you have directionality coming in this way, 10 degrees, directionality is coming in. Definitely was not involved in a drive-by. There were fire cartridge cases found on the side of the road. I don't think a car, even when I was out there, I don't think a car can drive along that area and shoot the passenger side of that vehicle.
God, there's so many little details that add up it being a really questionable about there being a drive-by. This jury's probably second guessing themselves like, I don't know what to believe, dude.
So when you load a magazine, you're going to load it with your thumb or your finger, and you're going to enter cartridges into there. So your print is going to be on it. On this case, a fingerprint was developed. However, it was determined by our lab analysis of the link print unit to be of no value.
So these guys did not get any breaks with like finding any type of DNA or fingerprints. Like they found nothing. Like majority of this case rests on the trajectory and the phone, nothing else.
Injuries to Christopher Thomas's head and what you observed based on your training experience.
So Christopher Thomas had an injury to his left cheek, had the tattooing or the stippling on there, which is indicative of close range fire. Projectile that entered into Christopher Thomas is actually about in the middle of his cheek. Completely, it was a full circle. There was no leading edge. There was nothing to indicate that his head was turned to the right, turned to the left. It was straight. It was the circular pattern that indicates that he was facing forward when that round entered his cheek. So I'm showing potential GSR, which is here, 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 is potential GSR. There's one right here, potential GSR. So there's potential GSR on the back seat. There's some right here, and right here.
Does the scene Melly was supposedly sitting in? Well, he was. He's on camera sitting in that bitch, but you know. Oh, so here's the GSR that came from the gun that he says hit the back of the front passenger seat where Sack Chaser was sitting.
These two may have been shot in close proximity inside of the car, so that's what they're really using it for, to try to negate the drive-by.
This is a demonstrative photo that would show if an individual was seated in the rear passenger seat behind the driver, would be able to obtain a shot into the front seat passenger. It is a photo from the other side of the vehicle.
That's crazy. Melly, you shot your partners, cuz. That is crazy. That is crazy, bro. This shit is irrefutable, bro, at this point. Melly is not beating this case, my boy. Not beating this case.
It's demonstrative only, and it's just an additional angle. It's all angles from the vehicle.
This does paint a picture in the jurors' heads. That's what they're trying to do here. They're trying to show what they think could have happened. It's not them obviously guaranteeing that's what happened.
The information was learned by me after the fact, and it helped to solidify my analysis.
In terms of, based on the information that you have, can you state how the driver was positioned when the shots occurred for the backseat passenger?
The driver, in my opinion, was seated in the front seat when the shots were fired.
This is a big point for the prosecutor because remember, Melly's team was trying to hint at that it could have been Bortland that did this, not Melly, the driver. So now they're trying to exclude Bortland.
That's snitching anyway, though, right? Ain't that still you trying to tell on Bortland? Cause that's snitching.
Right now,
because he's seated in that position. So this is a demonstrative photo.
Even if you do beat this case, y'all tried to snitch on Bortland, nigga. So you still down bad for me, nigga.
Photograph to show that you can fire a firearm from that position in the direction of a passenger.
They're showing it is possible for him to shoot from this way. It does seem a little awkward. I feel like he would have used his left arm to reach over across like this, like with his other arm. because this arm feels awkward, like cocking it back. He's just showing that it's possible.
Mr. Thomas has what's called a defensive wound on his right hand, and that defensive wound was caused by a projectile. So I believe that at some point he turned, put his hands up, or attempted to de-escalate what was going on, and received the firearm projectile through his thumb.
He just said juvie went like this, got shot in the thumb. I didn't know that happened.
Because it lets me know that Mr. Thomas was not aware of what was going on. He was taken by surprise, and his hands being up, his hands are in an up position, almost saying, maybe don't shoot, or I relinquished, or something. Because we have a projectile that enters in this door and travels across the vehicle and into the other door, the driver-passenger door. So after Mr. Thomas was shot, the driver...
Real estate agents, the best way to sell 5 homes per month is to generate your own leads for $3 each and have an assistant call them for $5 an hour.
Back door was in an open position. Projectile strike, the projectile that I spoke about earlier, that enters in from the passenger side rear door, travels across the vehicle and enters into the door.
Melly's in the back left seat, right? Juvu's in the back right seat. Melly got out of the car and staged the drive-by, right? And when he did that, one of the bullets went through the door and went into Melly's back left door that was open. And they can tell it was open because of the angle of the bullet hitting the door. So basically, they now know someone opened the back left door and got out.
There's now another individual outside the car. What is this individual in this photo trying to demonstrate?
This is another demonstrative of an alternative theory. If a shot could be obtained from a person outside of the vehicle. So we use Blue Star in any crime scene to locate blood.
So he's explaining the Blue Star stuff that, detects blood and everything.
If you look at right here, that would be where the legs are, and it continues on to show where the buttocks were. And what's very telling
about Melly's legs and Melly's butt was in the seat right here. That he was in the seat when blood came in because he was blocking the seat. Pretty damning evidence, if you ask me.
Is that there's no blood on the back of the back seat, which means that a back was leaning against it.
Why would you expect to see blood on that area?
Because that's going to be from the blowback from Anthony Williams. The outline of buttocks, you have where the leg separation is. So there is somebody seated here, and then again, this whole entire seat has no blood on it. You see that there's a reaction to blood on the door.
And so what does that tell you as a shooting reconstructionist?
It tells me that the door was closed during the shooting incident inside the vehicle.
And again, 4870.
If this door, the driver's side passenger door, was in a closed position during the shooting on the passenger side of the vehicle, I would expect to see this projectile strike mark to be in the speaker. So that is indicative of the door being in an open position during the shooting on the passenger side of the vehicle.
And now we're going to get the cross-examination from Melly's team.
And you were aware that when Cortland Henry made this statement that this gentleman was nowhere around, right?
I wasn't part of the initial investigation, okay. So I don't know if that was included in there. But if you want to call him a liar, yeah.
I do.
Okay.
And during your testimony,
that nigga fumbling. Hold on, what's going on? Okay.
You sat in what would be the driver's seat, right?
Yes.
Now tell me something. Do you know what kind of firearm was used?
No.
What caliber?
40.
40 caliber?
Yes.
If a 40 caliber is fired inside a vehicle, will it make a noise?
Yes.
Will it make a loud noise?
Yes.
Okay. And your testimony was that Cortland Henry was sitting here, sitting in his seat, right?
Yes.
Based upon there was blood spatter that hit the front of his shoulder, and I think your words were, and he was sitting still and not moving, and there was also blood spatter that hit the back of his shirt.
Yes.
Cortland Henry was sitting still and not budging. That would be your analysis, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a good hole to point out because obviously Cortland would not be sitting still in the driver's seat if shots were fired. He'd be like flinching a little bit, going down, so.
And that he was shot from 8 to 12 inches away?
For the cheek.
Okay. To miss him from 12 inches away and hit his hand.
Well, I didn't say that he was 12 inches away during that shot. State never asked the distance for that shot. State only asked the distance for the cheek.
Okay, so that means the other person, if they were seated there, would have to be taking up less than 20 inches of space, according to you.
Right.
And in that less than 20 inches of space, minus the 8 to 12 inches between the muzzle of that gun and that face. You agree?
I'm following along with you.
Okay.
But can you sit back down?
I will. And the muzzle of their gun was 8 to 12 inches away.
This detective is like laughing a lot. Like, what is going on?
In your 20 years of law enforcement experience, have you ever seen anybody fire a firearm like that?
I've never seen anybody fire a firearm because I'm always after the fact.
Okay. You've indicated to this jury that in your experience, you go to the range with your fellow officers and practice shooting, like what we're seeing in that picture, 6119.
Yes, that's close quarter shooting.
Okay.
The purpose of that photograph is to show that you can fire a firearm like that.
And that you can fire a firearm like that, requiring that ridiculous contortion, right?
How is that a contortion?
Okay.
Picture is a demonstrative of showing that you can fire a firearm in close quarters.
You did not offer another photograph of how the shot that you claim took place from the back of that seat could have been effectuated. That's the only one you thought.
Actually, you have access to all of these photos,
right.
And we went through with the state multiple scenarios, different ideas or ideals of how this could have occurred inside the vehicle.
So the person could have been outside the vehicle?
No.
Okay,
what I testified is that somebody was inside the vehicle, but the pictures that you're referring to are you're saying that I only considered one option when I have multiple options for this.
Okay.
It's another one outside of the vehicle.
Oh, he's outside again?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think the detectives is trying to say that they were like demonstrating that it is possible to shoot a gun in this close quarters, and Melly's lawyer trying to pick it apart and show inaccuracies and like that he was only focusing on that one theory of
it ain't working, nigga. The nigga said what he said. The dude said what he said, bro. Ain't nothing the Melly lawyer can do to make it seem or break it down. He said what he said, and he's standing on that shit too. That's the difference. He laughing and shit, and he's standing on what he said. Like, he like, bro, what are you doing? You can sit back down. Like, you're doing too much. Yes, 12 inches, 18 inches, whatever the fuck it is.
Inside the car. I'm not sure if it's going over well.
The gentleman in the dark glasses is even in a more clownish, awkward position, isn't he? He's in a more awkward position, is he not?
He is in, actually, that's why I wanted you to sit down and finish your...
That is a ridiculous position to be in. Like, there's...
Are you currently spending countless hours manually packaging applications and updates?
There's no way. They're predicting that Melly did this, but in my opinion, I feel like he probably would have went like that, and then that.
And hit Mr. Thomas in the hand, according to your scenario, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Not miss. I think he shot him in the hand.
Oh, he deliberately shot him in the thumb.
I think he was firing. So this is where you're not letting me sit down there to explain this. But you got to be there too.
Okay.
I don't wait.
Let's sit down together. Oh, you turned now.
Well, hell yeah, you're pointing a gun at me.
Okay.
So that's a defensive. Like, whoa, stop.
Okay.
So that's where we're gaining distance now.
Okay.
All right. So that's where that shot came in because he thinks it's going to go like that. There's no sibling here. So he's backing up. He's saying, whoa.
Right.
Okay.
And then,
but you're just predicting this is what happened. Like, you obviously don't know this is exactly the movements that happened. That he went like this. Like, he could have went like this. He could have did. You don't know. This is just an estimate.
And then looks down or somehow looks at his thumb and gets shot.
Okay.
So I think that he's leaning to get away. He wants to get away. He has a gun pointed at him.
Okay. So he's leaning to get away after he gets shot in the hand.
Keyword, I think. He said, I think a lot. I think he says that a lot.
And he says, oh, wow, I got shot. Let me look straight ahead and get shot in the side of the face.
Let me get shot. He said, oh, wow, I got shot. Let me look straight ahead and get shot in the side of the face. Fuck no.
Door to try to get out and get shot in the face. Because he's doing something that's making him look forward.
So this is all just estimates, though.
This, don't shoot me, get shot. And now he's looking for an escape plan.
If you're going to get out, you're going to get shot in the back of the head, though.
That's everything you came down here to tell. Right?
Well, yeah, because it lets me do this.
Okay.
If you somebody on the side of me, right? Let me see if y'all can see me. If somebody on the side of me right here, and I'm looking at them like, oh, don't shoot, and my door is right here. You can't see it. And my door is on this side right here. And I'm saying don't shoot, and I try to get out. Wouldn't it be like right here? Unless the nigga like, no, don't shoot, and he just catch you while you know what I'm saying? Which is the lower. I mean, I don't know, bro. I ain't no fucking cop, bro. Let's get back to this shit.
He just said you smell good.
What?
What is?
Came down here to tell. Right?
Well, yeah, because it lets me do this.
Okay.
What
he
the
just
fuck?
said you smell good.
Bro, this
what
nigga's
is
a
going on with this
weirdo.
detective? This also just makes no sense. Like, no one's gonna pull up and shoot that way across from.
Bro just said you smell good. Come on, bro. This ain't no game. Like, what the hell wrong with these people?
Person in the back left seat. If they were outside of their car like this, I think Melly's team is trying to say this is a possibility, but it just makes absolutely no sense. Like, I feel like that's literally something that would never happen unless they did not want to kill this guy and like he paid them to kill this guy. I don't know. It just seems weird.
We don't have any blood directionality coming this way.
Well, technically, no, that's not true, because that goes to show that he don't know what the fuck he talking about neither. Because if y'all remember in the Quando Rondo situation, when him and Lil Tim got shot right from outside of the vehicle from a drive-by, but it was said in the police report that the driver reached over Quando, literally just like this. Like, this is Quando, that's Lil Tim. This the shooter. The driver ran up to the car, reached over Quando, literally his hand is in front of Quando, and shot Lil Tim. Or Lil Tim? Or Lil Pab? Lil Pab, my bad, Lil Pab. I got all these niggas, Lil nigga. They done shot Lil nigga. I'm gonna start calling niggas Lil niggas. That's what they want to be. Anyway, so that just goes to show that that's a real situation that happened. Especially with these new young niggas. These young niggas, like, if this is back in the day, you know what I'm saying? I'm born in the 90s, nigga, 93, early 90s. This is back in the day, niggas ain't doing no shit like this. No, I agree. Niggas is shooting up the whole car, wetting up the whole car, and then they get the fuck on. Nowadays, niggas go run up to the car, dap their partner up in the car, and then shoot the nigga next to him damn near. You know what I'm saying? Like, literally reach their hand in the car, miss a nigga, try and make sure they don't hit this nigga, but they hit this nigga. You know what I'm saying? So that's how these young niggas work. And these niggas ain't really but 21 and younger, 22, 23 and younger. You know what I'm saying? Young. They young niggas.
So this scenario, although it was hoisted, is not possible.
I just need this jury to be clear on why, at the end of the day, the shooter was not outside.
Because we don't have the blood evidence and the trajectory to line up with somebody being outside of the car.
Okay. Well, that's that. That's that, boy. You thought you were going to do something with that.
That's a good answer, honestly. Kind of stumped the lawyer, in my opinion, there.
Is this just another angle of that demonstrative that we just saw?
Yes.
Okay. And in your demonstrative, the person doing the shooting isn't even bothering to take a look at his target. He's looking over the top of the vehicle. You see that?
Well, I don't think that we need to be focused on what he's looking at. We need to be focused on the position of the gun and his arm. So you're suggesting that somebody is reached fully into the car, stretching across somebody.
I didn't say anybody was in the rear passenger seat. You did. But well, I'm asking you. I'm asking you.
Excuse me, guys. One at a time.
I'm asking you if it's possible that somebody could actually have been looking through that window at where they're firing instead of looking at the moonlight.
They're putting their body into the car. They would actually have to drop their arms down in order to obtain that shot for Anthony Williams, because it is at such a degree that it exits out the front of his head and into a window, through a window.
Oh, that's a good point. Anthony Williams' shot was kind of angled upward a little bit, so it makes no sense for them to be outside the car, in my opinion, but whatever.
If somebody with a firearm said, freeze, don't move, could it cause the people inside that vehicle to freeze and not move?
When I work the streets, I tell people to freeze and don't move, and they keep running.
Not everybody.
So I would disagree.
So awkward.
That's your answer to that.
If
somebody's outside and says, freeze, don't move, do you allow for that possibility?
No, you don't allow for it. I'm not allowing for it, because we could sit here until we're both blue in the face and discuss possibilities. The possibilities that you're suggesting, I don't agree with. Basically, the shooting happened from somebody inside the car. The blood evidence shows that it happened from inside the car. The angles show that it happened from inside the car. So any suggestion of it happening outside of the car, I would not entertain, because it's not possible.
Except when called upon to disprove the scenario that I presented to you, you can't do it with science and trigonometry.
So the scenarios that you're presenting to me do not line up with the angles into the bodies. Those angles.
Look, YNWMelly defense, their best thing right now in this defense is try to discredit the way that they determine these things. That's the best thing he can do right now, because if all you're doing is arguing things that's already put in place to consider it true. You get what I'm saying? Like, he's arguing angles, he's arguing, you know what I'm saying, doctors, you know what I'm saying? He's arguing that type of shit. When you can't argue that when they have it on paper. They already have the research, they already have the tests, they already have the angles, they already have the GSR, they already have all of that shit, the blood splatter, they have all of that shit already. So there's no point of you going in there arguing those points when they all they gotta do is just throw that back at you. And since you don't have the test to argue, or since you're not in a position to have taken the test to show then they don't have to do nothing but just tell you what the fuck the test said. Now, if you was a good enough lawyer, the best thing for you to do is really dig deep into the test and let them know that the tests are never going to be 100% accurate, and make him tell the jury how accurate the tests are. You know what I'm saying? And then if it was even smart enough, I will bring up old cases, if you can. I'm not sure if you can, but I'll bring up old cases to where they showed that the test said it was positive and turned out negative. You know what I'm saying? Shit like that. Because to me, just because you're taking tests and you have all these angles doesn't mean that you're 100% right, that this is what happened. It just means you have an idea of what happened. Now, I would throw other ideas out there as well, which is what he's doing, but that's all he's doing is throwing other ideas out there. That's not good enough. You got to dig deep into the actual test. He's using math. Math is flawable just as well, especially when you have suggested math or math that's coming from CGI images and shit like that, right? Like all this stuff can be just made up, but I don't know.
Angles are set. Those angles have been completed. They don't change. The angle into Anthony Williams' head does not change. The blood spatter that comes onto the headliner and the directionality that it's going, which is it's heading towards the backseat driver passenger, does not change. So anything that you suggest would not obtain the results that are inside that car right now.
So now he's going to ask him about Zach Chaser being shot right here in the front seat.
Like I have my phone in my hand right now, right?
Yes.
Okay. You didn't consider somebody back here sticking the gun in a way that would be natural to shoot, as opposed to what you depicted.
So if I were to consider your scenario, the projectile would actually end up in the headliner and possibly through the roof, because that is a very sharp angle. You're on your knee and you're shooting in an upward position through the window.
The position he was just saying, like explaining that someone shot Zach Chaser like an angle downward from the Melly's window, it doesn't make sense.
So if somebody were sticking their gun in a natural firing motion at an angle that would have allowed the projectile to go through that window, that's not something you considered and thought maybe you might put in the picture as opposed to this guy with the side-on action?
Well, again, we could go back and forth onto every possible scenario that you could have in your mind. I'm not going to entertain all of your scenarios. If you come up with one that would line up with the blood and the trajectories, then we can talk about that. But as far as your scenarios that are, I can't speak to them because they don't make sense.
Fair enough. Have you ever in your 19 plus years seen someone fire a firearm with their hand in the position that you see depicted in your demonstrative 6731? Ever?
Well, as you said earlier, maybe in the movies.
So just to be clear, what Miramar did before you took over was totally incompetent, in your professional opinion?
It lacked training.
Okay.
So these measurements were used to determine a minimum and a maximum shooting distance from the vehicle.
Okay. In order for you to come up with a distance for a shooter, you would have to be locked in to whatever that height is, right?
No.
No? Okay. And the only significance of the length of the rod that is protruding from the hole, the only significance is if the end of that rod is supposed to tell you where the person is, because otherwise the length of the part protruding does nothing other than to indicate the trajectory to you.
The length of the rod has nothing to do with where the person is.
Okay, fine. You don't have the person's height, and you don't have the distance away from which that person was. You're telling this jury that you can determine the height of the person with nothing more than a trajectory rod, and it's based on the length of the rod.
It's based on more than that.
But you don't have the variables of where they're standing.
See, that's what I'm saying. You can't say it's based on more than that, but you only give it as evidence of the damn rod.
You do not have the height of the shooter.
I can get the height of the shooter.
You don't have that? This is a trial, nigga. What you mean?
Okay.
Honestly, I don't think it's going very well for Melly's team right now. But at the same time, he is trying to pick it apart and like make it look like this guy doesn't know what he's doing, like he does with every other person. But
and then you revised your report, and you then concluded that it could have been either one of them.
It could have been both for the entire event on the outside of the car.
Okay. Do you think that the fact that you only came up with Mr. Demons initially was influenced by the fact that that's what the state was telling you?
No, I think that it was influenced by the fact that, as you stated earlier, with your demonstrative there with the rod, when I used his actual height, it made him taller.
So essentially, you had made a mistake because you used the wrong numbers, right?
Because for the back of the back of the car, we used. I used his height.
Okay.
Melly's team just pointing out mistakes that were made. Shit. I saw tweets today that.
Oh shit! Look, the judge don't like that. You make mistakes, the judge don't like that.
Apparently, Melly was paying really close attention today.
The blood that was retrieved, that was found on Cortland Henry's shirt, you don't know how it got there.
The blood from the front of his shirt is from Anthony Williams' blowback, and the blood on the back of his shirt is from Christopher Thomas's two rounds that he took.
Your scenario was him sitting still with a .40 caliber being shot from behind his neck, and he does not move. And it came back onto him and splat, right?
Without blaming him for moving, I mean, we have a firearm going off. I don't think I would move either.
That he got there any other way is because you're assuming that he was sitting in the seat, in the driver's seat at the time the shot was fired.
Well, I'm not assuming, because it's clear in the pictures that there is no blood on that seat, and the explanation for that is because somebody is in that seat.
And it's Cortland Henry, you know that for sure.
If whoever is driving that car.
Trying to, you know, cast doubt in what could have happened in those like 20 minutes of it driving around beforehand. All right, that's pretty much it for day 10. Sergeant Christopher.
All right, like you said, man, that's it for day 10. That's the end of this video. I don't know how many days until the verdict, man. This shit is going crazy. It's not looking too good after this shooting reconstruction. I thought Melly's team was doing a good job when I looked at it yesterday, but obviously it's some shit that I missed. But let me know what y'all think about this shit in the comments. Y'all think he gonna be guilty or not guilty, or do y'all think it's gonna be a hung jury? Let me know right now, or let me know when y'all see the video. With that being said, it's the end of this video, and we out this thing, Uncle Gang. Peace.